Om Sahnavavatu Sahnau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavatpadam Shankaram Lokashankaram. Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutrabhashyakrtau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punaha. Samasta Kalyane Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Sadgurum Brahma Vidvaram. Sarva Vedanta Siddhanta Gocharam Tamagocharam Govindam Paramanandam Sadgurum Pranatosmyaham. So Hari Om, salutations to all. Jivan Mukta, and the characteristics of that Jivan Mukta is what we were seeing. 433 we saw regrets of the past, anxieties of the future, and indifference towards any tension or stress in the present. These are the qualities of a Jivan Mukta, which they express spontaneously, which we have to cultivate. And we saw how to do each of those. Now moving forward, 434. Gunadosha vishishtesmin svabhavena vilakshane sarvatra samadarshitvam jivan muktasya lakshanam. So guna dosha vishishte, in this world there is plurality, and so that plurality is characterized by guna and dosha, good and bad, or merit and demerit. Guna dosha vishishte asmin, and svabhavena vilakshane. Each aspect has difference in their nature, their qualities. So each item, each person, there are different temperaments, qualities. Svabhavena vilakshane. Sarvatra samadarshitvam. In spite of all the differences, one sees oneness. Sarvatra samadarshitvam. Jivan muktasya lakshanam. This is the quality of a Jivan Mukta. So Samadarshi, this is one of the synonyms of a Jivan Mukta. One who has equal vision. Now this comes in the Gita also. The 5th chapter it will come. Vidya Vinaya Sampanne Brahmane Gavi Hastini Shuni Chaiva Shvapakecha Pandita Samadarshinaha. So there are examples given there. Vidya Vinaya Sampanne Brahmane, meaning one who is very well endowed with proper knowledge and humility, indicating what one has learnt, one is applying also and has made oneself humble, and through that come to realize the truth. So one is that kind of a Brahman. See, again, it is not said one who is born Brahman. It says Vidya Vinaya Sampanne Brahmane. Then Gavi, cow. Cow, all of us know in Hindu culture, we worship cow as mother cow. The abode of all the devatas is the Kamadhenu. So the cow, full of sattva guna, full of selflessness, every aspect is for the benefit of the society. So, Vidya Vinaya Sampanne Brahmane Gavi, then Hastini is the elephant, symbol of strength, power, sharp memory. Brahmane Gavi Hastini. Both these, cow and the elephant, sattvic elements. Brahmane Gavi Hastini. Shuni is the dog. A very faithful animal. And the worst of all of them is Shvapaka, who kills even such a faithful dog and who eats the dog. So whether it is the highest type of a educated, cultured, realized person or sattvic animals, dog is a mixture of sattva and rajas predominantly. And tamas also will be there, but predominantly. And then the one below, one who is very, very tamasic, who is below the human dignity also. He eats even the dog. In all of these, the wise person, Panditaha Samadarshina, they have equal vision. Their examples are given. Here examples are not given, but here the description is that there is difference in the qualities, guna, dosha, merit and demerit, good and bad. So in this world there will be always this good and bad. The wise person acts with equal vision. Why? Because a wise person sees all this as a manifestation of one's own self. So that is one reason. Like we see the whole body is I. We see the whole body as me. So differences may exist in the functionality. So each part of the body we may use differently. One part cannot replace the other part's functionality. But psychologically, we have the feeling of oneness for the whole body. So in the same way, Samadarshi, one sees everything as one. So now does it mean that this Samadarshi will not have differences in the functional behavior? No, it will not happen like that. Samavarti means acting equally towards all. But Samadarshi means having equal vision. Action may be different. How a Jivan Mukta responds to a child, how a Jivan Mukta responds to a educated person, how a Jivan Mukta responds to a fool, how a Jivan Mukta may respond to somebody who is a wicked person. Externally, there may be differences as per the role, as per the need. But internally, there is no hatred for somebody who is wicked, and there is no special love for somebody who is good. Internally, the vision is same. From spiritual standpoint, for the Jivan Mukta, everybody is one. But from the psychological standpoint, for the Jivan Mukta, in the heart, there is only love and compassion. One may even get angry, one may even get upset with somebody on the particular issue. So the Jivan Mukta is not conditioned or limited. That if one becomes a Jivan Mukta, then one has to be always only calm and serene and peaceful. That is our limitation. We are trying to superimpose on the Jivan Mukta that Jivan Mukta can never become angry, can never become sad. But that is our limitation of thinking. They may go through any of the emotions, but they know the emotion to be false. One. Two, their heart is filled with compassion only. Because ego has gone. The ego is what makes us react in a specific way due to attachments and aversions. Now that ego itself is gone. So the heart will be filled with love, with compassion. So no matter what they do externally, internally their heart is Samadarshi only. Like if there is a part of the body which has become cancerous and it has to be cut, now it has to be cut. That is also an act of compassion only. So that is called Samadarshi. Uh, in one of the commentaries, it has been explained like this. There are two different levels of Samadarshitvam. At one level, it says that to see Brahman in everything, which is what we saw, that the self is the same in all. So to see that all this is appearance of Brahman only, then there is Samadarshitvam. Why? Because in the Gita also that's the definition. Nirdosham hi samam Brahma. The quality of Brahman is is equanimity, or it is equal vision, Samadarshitva. Because same Brahman pervades everything. The properties, the nature, qualities, not nature actually, properties and qualities. Those may be different, but existence, consciousness, bliss, that is the same in all. And so one who operates out of that vision, that all this is appearance of Brahman, is Samadarshi. And second meaning given here is that who does not reject evil or accept good. Now does not accept good, does not reject evil or accept good, meaning does not go up and down with these. Because they see them as a product of avidya. That this is the nature of samsara. Guna dosha vishishte asmin. Vishishta means this is the special quality of samsara. It will go like this. Good and bad will come. Pairs of opposites will come. Who does not reject evil or accept good, meaning who doesn't take this to heart. Externally, there is no choice. Good and evil will come, and one has to accept life as it comes. But doesn't take it to heart, doesn't get completely, carried away by those. Who said this? There is one commentary where Sri Sadashivendra, he says in this Atma Vidya Vilas, in that he has explained this. That what is the meaning of Samadarshi? Because many times one thinks Samadarshi means one should behave equally with all people. That is impossible. Externally, what has to be different will be different. But psychologically and spiritually, no difference. All actions born out of love and compassion, and all actions born out of the understanding that this is an appearance of Brahman. So it's very interesting. For the Guru, the Shishya is Brahman only. For the Shishya, he is in bondage. He or she is in bondage. But the Guru has Samadarshi. Guru is Samadarshi. So Guru says, I am Brahman, Shishya is Brahman, whole world is Brahman. But you see, still compassion arises in their heart. People like Gurudev came down from the Himalayas, and then they shared knowledge with all the masses. Tapon Maharaj told him, don't go down. But he said, the urge is irresistible. Now I feel like going down. So if that urge is irresistible, I want to go and share. Please give me permission. So it seems contradictory. On one hand, we say they see everything as Brahman. On the other hand, they feel why these people are suffering without knowledge. Let me go and share this knowledge. It is not contradictory. It is only two different levels. At a level of the self, everything is Brahman. In that sense, so Tapan Maharaj also, he is teaching so many disciples who come to him. So that is called the relative reality. What we have done earlier, the three levels of reality is Vyavaharika Satta. Vyavaharik Satta is the transactional reality. We think the transactional reality is by itself real, and we have forgotten the absolute reality. So for us to rise from this transactional reality to the absolute reality, in between is the state called relative reality, where we see that this whole thing is an illusion, this is not real. So our attachment to this will become lesser. And slowly, as we turn within, realize the self, we come to absolute reality. Established in the absolute reality, one works at the relative level with the equal vision. But whatever roles one has to play, one will still play that, knowing fully well this role is not real. Like an actor, no? Each actor plays the role in the movie. Every actor knows this is not real. Now, if some actor feels that this alone is real and has forgotten his true nature as actor, then that is delusion. So Jivan Mukta is like the person who is living in the world knowing fully well this is appearance of Brahman, there is no other thing here. So the Samadarshitvam is there based on that. But at Vyavaharik level, Prarabdha karma will be there for this body. So they will play certain roles. But deep down they know it is not real. So that is called Samadarshitvam. So one may be anybody. A Jivan Mukta need not be only a saint. Janak Maharaj was also a Jivan Mukta. They can be like an Avadhut. They can be even, sometimes they look like mad people also. They can be Grahasthi. They can be kings. They can be children. Sanat Kumar, they are small children. There are 4 of them. Manasa Putras of Brahmaji, but they are very young. So no age restriction, no ashram restriction, means grahastha, vanaprastha, brahmachari, sannyasi, none of those can be restrictions. So Jivan Mukta is not bound by any of them. How the person lives here, what guides the actions of that person is the prarabdha. What has to happen will happen. Tapan Maharaj's prarabdha is he once he went to the mountains, then he never came down below Rishikesh. Gurudev's prarabdha is he went up there and he came down. And he shared the knowledge with everybody across the world. So that is a different aspect, but the vision of both of them is the same. And they see the whole universe also as expression of one supreme reality. So that is called Samadarshitvam. Sarvatra Samadarshitvam. And their vision is not just in the human beings or living beings also. Even in the inert things, they see the same. Like Prahlad could see Bhagavan in a pillar. So that is called Samadarshitvam. The whole universe, including the moving, non-moving, sentient, insentient, is seen as appearance of Brahman alone. Then you may say the universe does not exist in that situation. Definitely. Only Brahman is. Where there is Brahman, the nature of Brahman is changeless, absolute truth. Established in that, we may see them acting in the world here. If you ask them, they will say there is no world. And for us to comprehend that also is difficult. Then who is telling whom? That also is not a reality. Because world only doesn't exist. So to comprehend that aspect is difficult. Until one experiences that state, nobody can explain what it is. But these pointers are to understand that even at the relative level, they don't see this as how we see. They maintain equal vision. So Pandita Samadarshinaha Sarvatra Samadarshitvam Jivan Muktasya Lakshanam. So Gurudev has given this example of the dreamer. In the commentary, in the fourth paragraph, you see that. The dreamer, while dreaming, experiences the dream world. In waking up, he understands that the dream has merged in the waking knowledge. Supposing with that knowledge he is introduced into that dream, how will he react to the dream world? This is the state of the Jivan Mukta, for whom the world has disappeared, who is absorbed in the state of Samadhi, who has experienced the absolute truth. Now with that knowledge that there is only one absolute truth, as though one is coming down to the body level and living in this relative world. What will be the vision? That all this is Brahman. There is nothing else except that. So in a similar fashion, a man who has realized the highest lives in the world with his equipments. He also suffers his joys and sorrows. But he has an extra smile on his face, seeing the world is tempted to put him on the cross. Look at that. Extra smile. Extra smile at what? Extra smile at this thought, that he may be crucified also. He may be condemned, he may be criticized, he or she may be tortured. Meaning, ordinary things for us, we get affected so much. So even in the worst of the situations, they are not bothered. That's what it means. He understands the trick of the mind which gives him hallucinations, so glorious in their beauty and ugliness. His equanimity cannot be broken by any happenings around. It's the internal state. So we should not make the mistake of judging them through their external actions. See, in simple, even in the day-to-day world, when we look at somebody and we say that, how do we judge the motive of a person? Through the actions externally, we cannot judge by itself. To understand an ordinary person's motive itself is difficult. Through their actions, just merely their actions, we will not know. Until we speak or we understand the context, we won't know why somebody did something. Now, if this is the situation for ordinary people, their actions we can't understand, the motive we can't understand, then how to understand this Jivan Mukta? Only through their actions, that we can't. To know what their state is, the only way is lift ourselves to that state. That's why one place Gurudev said very nicely when he was addressing on the occasion of Vivekananda's birthday or some occasion connected to Vivekananda. One statement he made is only a Vivekananda can understand who is a Vivekananda. What is his nature? What was his vision? What he wanted for the country, for the culture? Only a Vivekananda can understand who is a Vivekananda completely. What we can do is to lift ourselves to that level to be able to comprehend. So a Jivan Mukta cannot be judged by the external characteristics. Even a person like Shankaracharya ji, he showed us that through the Leela, through the incidents in his life, where in Kashi when he took bath and he was going through the streets of Kashi, and some of them are very narrow. So there is a dog eater, the Shvapaka, what we spoke about. The Shvapaka comes from the front, Chandala. He has 3-4 dogs, very ugly, not taken bath, who works at a crematorium. Now, as soon as he came, Shankaracharya ji said, Gacha, Gacha. Move, move. So this Chandala says, what should move from what? Annamayad Annamayam athava Chaitanyam eva Chaitanyad. What should move from what? This body which is made up of BMI should move from this world, which is also, body which is made up of 5 elements. That should move from this world, which is also made up of 5 elements. That is impossible. Matter cannot move from matter. Everything is matter. Or consciousness should move from consciousness. Chaitanya meva Chaitanya. Consciousness is also all pervasive. So what should move from what? Shankaracharya ji immediately recognizes that this is not an ordinary person here. And he composes that 5 verses, Manisha Panchakam. Beautiful composition. In that every line ends with this. Chandalostu Satudvijostu Guru Rityesha Manisha Mama. A person can be Chandala, meaning the worst of the people. Chandalostu Dvijostu, or a person may be a Brahmana. Brahmana here in the sense a person who has realized the self. Or even if one says Veda, one who has studied the Veda. So the person may be a Chandala or the person may be a very well-versed scholar. He says, I won't distinguish. Whoever has this vision of oneness, Guru Rityesha Manisha Mama. This is my conviction that such a person is my Guru. That is called Samadarshitva, where one sees the vision of oneness. So now this is the quality of a Jivan Mukta. Now the next one. Ishtanishtartha sampraptau samadarshitayatmani ubhayatra vikaritvam jivan muktasya lakshanam. So he says Ishta and Anishta artha sampraptau. When one is facing the favorable and unfavorable results, pleasure or pain, Samadarshitaya Atmani. In both the cases, one is having equanimity. Ubhayatra avikaritvam. One doesn't change, meaning one doesn't get disturbed within. Jivan muktasya lakshanam. This is the quality of a Jivan Mukta. See, some of these are very clearly there in the Gita. They are just rephrased. In the Sthita Prajna Lakshan, Arjun asks the Lord, what is the state of this person in Samadhi? And then, Sitadhi kim prabhasheta kim asita vrajeta kim. How does that person act in the world? How does that person speak? Sthitadhi kim prabhasheta. Kim asita. How does that person sit? And vrajeta. How does that person move? Meaning, how does a person live in the world? It's not about speaking. Speaking meaning relationships with people. Sitting meaning how does a person transact with the objects in the world? Because do the objects still tempt that person as before? Where is the person established? That's the question. And vrajeta kim, how does a person move about through situations in life? So in that, the first question is about samadhi. So Bhagavan says all the desires are given up in the state of contemplation and one experiences the self. Atmani eva atmana tushta. That person is called Sthita Prajna. Then how does that person act in the world? The answer begins with this quality. Dukkheshu anudvignamanaha sukheshu vigata spruhaha. Not disturbed by the sorrow, dukkheshu anudvignamanaha. Sukheshu vigata spruha. No desire is created by something which is favorable. Now how is this two happening? Because of Vita Raga. One has crossed attachment, one has gone beyond attachment. So Vita Raga Bhaya Krodha. And because Raga is gone, fear and anger also is gone. So when one gets what one likes, what is favorable, then there is fear of losing that. And if one doesn't get what one likes, there is anger. So he says, both are gone. Why? Because there is no attachment. Vita raga bhaya krodha sthitadhir muni ruchyate. That person is called as sthitadhi, whose wisdom is firm, that I am Brahman, all this is unreal. Now I will go a little more into this because we are using this to understand the Lakshana of a Jivan Mukta and then to internalize this as a quality for a sadhak. So I'm just going to share. Now you have to see this and tell me what this experiment means. Unmute and give your responses.
Hari Om Swamiji.
The
ball which is going straight is like a Jivan Mukta, that they don't get affected by the curves of the life. And where the curves, is like us or the ordinary people who fluctuates their moods or the actions according to the curves of the difficulties of the life, probably.
No.
No?
No. This experiment is not for that. Jivan Mukta is not going to face. No? Gurudev said they will get through, they will also be put on the cross and they may be.
So they'll be putting, but they'll not be they'll not be reacting to it. That's what I mean.
They do react also, not like us. That's all.
No, but they don't get disturbed inside. Like a ocean, the ocean is so calm and cool, like at the deeper level, where the waves are up, in the upper level where we see it moving,
Maybe, but this experiment is for something else. See it.
This is
see it again.
Hari Om Swamiji.
Haji.
This could mean that when we have challenges in life, we reach the goal. That is ups and downs. We need a push.
That kinetic and potential energy, you are getting more dynamic with ups and downs. Also, they can reach faster. Though they both have started with the same point, the one with the up and down is reaching faster to the end.
Right. So this experiment is meant for that. Because in life there are false expectations, so disappointment will be natural. You can unmute, you can mute yourself. So ups and downs, they will come in life. We think these ups and downs are an obstacle. And if these ups and downs are not there, our life will be more smooth. But these ups and downs create more momentum and one reaches the goal faster. Externally, ups and downs can come. Neetaji said in the beginning, the up and down is the response of our ignorant mind, and this equanimity is the response of a Jivan Mukta's mind. So that is a spiritual learning we derive out of this. But the experiment by itself is done to make people aware that what type of perspective one should have towards the pairs of opposites in the world. If we try to avoid the pairs of opposites and then see that our life, feel that our life will become better only if the pairs of opposites are gone, then that's a false expectation, because this world is guna dosha vishishta. It is full of these pairs of up and down, good and bad, and merit, demerit, all that will keep coming. How to go through in spite of all that, being grounded, that is an important aspect. So it is not that the realized people don't face tough times. In fact, they face much tougher times than any of us. It will come. The challenges, the sorrows, they come in everybody's life, including Jivan Mukta's life. But as we have seen earlier, the life of Shri Krishna is full of sorrows. But we don't recognize that because the way they face it is with so much of balance, equanimity, joy inside and outside they share with people. The situation may be sorrowful, but they don't respond to it in that way. And sometimes even if they feel sorrow, it does not mean that that sorrow is real. So I will come to that a little later in this, that how they disassociate. So they also go through a lot of challenges. The greater the person is, the greater the challenges will come. Many obstacles will be there, ups and downs, disappointments, betrayal will be there. Now we worry about people betraying us and people not being loyal to us or faithful, and how to trust anybody, and we have trust issues in life. But this is the nature of samsara. Even a Jivan Mukta gets betrayed. Jesus was betrayed. That's how he got onto the cross. So many Jivan Muktas, they get betrayed. But it doesn't affect them. Whatever is the consequence, one will go through it. So there will be all these challenges that come. And in fact, when they try to serve the humanity to lift them out of their sorrow, then they will be ridiculed. There will be opposition. People will not support. People will try to pull them down. False allegations will come. If they go through this ridicule and opposition, then the acceptance will happen. And Gurudev says at this stage, you should be very alert now. Because the fourth stage will be, they will start adoring you. If they start adoring you, run away from that place. Very practical solution. If they start adoring you, if they start making you a godman, run from that place, because you went there to serve and to destroy your ego, and now they are making a god out of you, and your purpose will get hijacked. So he said these are three stages: ridicule, opposition, and acceptance. Many people get disturbed when ridicule happens. Somebody condemns them, or neglects or ignores also. Saying what a ridiculous thing is attempting. It's not even worth. So many people give up at that time. But he said, don't worry, at least you are doing something positive. You are doing something which is purposeful. So they are ignoring it, at least they are noticing what you are doing. Otherwise, the first step will be such a level of complete indifference that they won't even notice. Here, at least they are noticing and telling you it is ridiculous. If you sustain that state, then you will come to opposition state, where people will oppose. Vehemently they will oppose, because now you have rattled their comfort zone. And if you continue the selfless work even at that stage, then acceptance will happen. People will accept. And once they accept you and the work and the vision, some of them will make you God-man also. Gurudev says you run away at that time. See, a master who is a Jivan Mukta will not be affected by any of this. But a seeker will get affected. So the seeker must be very careful to remain grounded. Otherwise, people are there in this world who can make a God-man out of a dumb fool. And that dumb fool will prove the dumbness and foolishness by thinking he is God. You may say, but that is Brahman, is everybody is Brahman. But the abidance is not there. No? The Dehatma Bhav is still there. So one should be alert at that. So one needs to learn how to rise above these pairs of opposites and live grounded, live as the absolute reality. Now this was an experiment conducted. Carrot, egg and coffee seeds. One should ask oneself, which one am I? This carrot is it looks very hard from outside. The egg is very brittle, and coffee seeds, they are powdered. If all the three are boiled in water, the carrot will become very soft and soggy. The egg which was brittle now becomes a proper boiled egg. And the coffee seeds, the powder will completely transform the very texture and the quality of that water, and it will dissolve in that. So there are some people, when they face difficult times, they crumble. They are like the carrot, who they looked very strong from outside, but from inside one is weak, so one collapses. Some are like the egg. They look as though they are brittle, but challenges they use and they become stronger. And some are like the coffee seeds. They will change the very circumstance itself. So each one has that capability. This is at the mind level I'm talking. Resilience is there at the mind level. Jivan Mukta is like the coffee seeds, if one wants to say. And so this is the shloka of the Gita, 56th verse in the second chapter. So what we do face, see, karma phala is this, sukha and dukkha is the karma phala. Here it is a ishta and anishta. It is a karma phala, it will come. There nobody can escape, including the Jivan Mukta cannot escape. So if somebody says that if I realize the truth, then my life should be only blissful. And if it is not like that, then what is the use of realizing the truth? No. It won't work like that. If one thinks that no challenges will come, that's a false expectation. Whether I realize the truth or not, what I am going to face because of my prarabdha karma, the sukha and dukkha will come. But what is my solution? I can deal with them with ignorance and get crushed by them. Or I can practice equanimity of the mind and learn to be balanced. Or I can abide in the self and know that this whole thing is an illusion. These are choices that we have. Jivan Mukta abides in the third one. And so they are part of the prarabdha and it will come. Individual karma, collective karma, it is applicable at all the times. Right now what we are going through is a combination of individual and collective karma. Each one of us has our own karma that we need satsang. Plus we have a collective karma between ourselves that this experience is happening. And this experience is not happening only because of the collective karma of the jivas who are in this satsang. It is also collective karma of so many other factors and other people who are contributing to us being what we are. So many people are supporting each of us. It is their karma also that plays a part, because collective karma is like that. The entire universe is the way it is for supporting the individual. Each individual is an expression of the collective. And what each individual does will affect the whole. So individual karma and collective karma is all the time together. There is no distinction ki this is only an individual karma. To think of it as this is only individual karma is the ignorance. That's why we suffer. Every individual karma is an expression of the total karma. To think that there is a wave separate and then there is an ocean separate, that is ignorance. Every single wave is an expression of the whole ocean. So now that is what it is. So the collective karma will be there. In this world, when one lives, every single person will be facing the individual collective karma. How that person faces it is their choice. The Jivan Mukta is facing them ubhayatra avikaritva. Unperturbed by any of these. They will come, they will go. So these difficulties and sorrows, we all know when we say dukkha, anishta, the three sources are Adi Daivik, Adi Bhautik and Adhyatmik. It can come from cosmic forces, it can come from beings around us, it can come from subjective agitations. Now, sources can be any, but how do I go through it? I should understand that the first two are not in my control. The cosmic forces and the beings around us, I can't control them. To a certain extent, yes, I can control and influence people around me by educating them, telling them, making them aware, helping them to take certain measures. Those things I can control. But whether they will actually do it or not, they will follow or not, that I can't control. That is their own choice and their own karma. So first two are not in my control. But the last one is in my control. The subjective agitations I can deal with because that is in my mind. And maybe because of past karma, I may habitually get affected by it, but then the purushartha can be done in the now to deal with it with equanimity. What happens to us is the opposite. What is in our hands that we are not controlling? What is not in our hands, we are trying to control that. Try to change people, try to make them understand, try to make changes in the situation outside. To some extent, whatever one can do, one should do. It's a part of one's duty, then one should do it. But one can't insist. And to waste time on that and tend to blame that they are the cause of my sorrow or this situation is the cause of my problem, it is never. Whatever may be the situation, whatever may be the way people are outside, none of them can be responsible for my internal response. That is my responsibility. So this Jivan Mukta lives at that level, which is much beyond this actually. For the Jivan Mukta, all the three are illusory. But for us to understand that is very difficult. So at our level, at least one should understand it in this way that what is in my control is my response. Let me give a response which is anchored in balance, which is not out of any sense of victimization, which is out of a strength. Gurudev used to say this, operate from strength. That is a very powerful line to just think about and to ask oneself, is this response out of strength or is it out of weakness? How would a Jivan Mukta respond? The best way, one of the best ways to understand is this. One should ask oneself, would Gurudev respond like this in this situation? There's a whole book on this, beautiful book. What would Buddha do? And there are lots of day-to-day life situations in that. Some conflict is there, some divorce problem is there, or some business loss is there, some accident is there. So many challenges are given in that. It's like a small description of a scenario. Now, how would Buddha respond to this? As you read that, is actually Jivan Mukta se Lakshana. So as we read that, we can understand, this is how a master would respond. So when we give any response internally, then we should think, how would a Jivan Mukta respond? Is my response according to that? Then that response becomes a sadhana. And also, our habitual responses we can detach from when I start thinking like a Jivan Mukta. Now don't give the excuse saying, Swamiji, hum to Jivan Mukta bane nahi to hum kaise soch sakte hain. That's why the scripture is giving us how the Jivan Mukta will respond. So keeping that in mind, we can visualize. You can read the incidents in lives of Gurudev or any great master, so many saints' lives. The advantage of reading the lives of saints is this, that we start understanding how they respond to situations. We need not respond exactly in the same way externally, but internally we can respond in the same way. See, their time, their situation, their circumstances, temperament, all may be different from us. So we don't have to exactly copy. If Gurudev got up at 3 o'clock and every day he used to sit and do his loud chanting of Om and then get ready and then write 150 letters per day, I may not be able to do that, get up at 3 and do letter writing. But the principle that he lived by, of self-control, of discipline, 42 years, every single day he did this. Now that principle I can adopt. Selflessly answering, patiently answering. You see, it is not even computer and all was not there at that time. Today, we are able to type in the computer and save something. So if somebody asks us same question, one can copy paste, do a little modification and send. At that time, none of that is existing. And so many people go on asking same question. And to anybody, it can be irritating. How many times to answer the same question coming in different ways from different people? But patiently he will write. Now those principles I can adopt. So when I read the lives of these great people, there's so much to internalize in that way, that their responses are in their control. And so when difficult times come, right now everyone going through challenging times, easily applicable all this is. So it is easier to handle actually the difficulties and sorrows. Because in success, our ego gets bloated. Very easily one gets carried away. That's why Kunti prayed for pain. In Bhagavatam it comes. Kunti prays to Shri Krishna that, oh Lord, you give me pain. Because in pain I can remember you. In good times I forget you. Now Tukaram actually, he was sent, Shivaji Maharaj sent a palki to Tukaram to call him. And Tukaram started praying to the Lord and he was very sad. He said, oh Bhagavan, what did I do? Why are you trying to bind me with comfort? Because if comfort comes in and I become a slave of comfort, I will forget you. So he told all those people, you go, you take the palki and go. I will come by walk, I will meet Shivaji Maharaj. Don't worry, go. So I'm not saying don't use any comfort in life. All I'm saying is how these people, these great masters, how they respond. That one should actually be more alert of the good times, because they are the times where we become like what we have done to nature is because of that good times. We were all spending such time very well, good times, and we exploited nature to the hilt. And one little thing from nature and we all are stuck now. So good times, one should be more alert. So by itself, it is not success and failure that is a challenge, it's our response, as we saw earlier. So the Gita says, Anudvigna manaha. Udvega is not there. Agitation at the unfavorable circumstance is not there. And desire for more, spruha, that is also not there. Dukkha comes, sukha comes. For an ordinary person, it will create agitation, and sukha will create more desire. That I want the repetition of this pleasurable circumstance or an object. So Krishna, in his home, in his life, you see how balanced he is. He did not go to Duryodhana's palace. That bhajan is there, no? Sabse unchi prem ki sagai. Duryodhan ko meva tyagyo, sag vidur ghar khai. He went to Vidur's house and he stayed there. And what is that? The wife of Vidurji, what is she giving? She was so stunned that Hare Bhagavan has come to our house. She is peeling the banana, throwing the banana, giving the peels to Bhagavan, and Bhagavan is eating the peels. So that is the situation. A Jivan Mukta lives in that kind of equanimity. So how to handle these difficulties? and sorrows at a practical, simpler level. That 4 aspects are here now. One is dhairya, with fortitude and patience, that even this will pass. Let me deal with it with strength. Let me not break down. Now, what is wrong if I break down? See, one may feel sad, one may feel agitated, but one bounces back fast, not remain there. You know, we go to extremes. Today, there is such a extreme that people say that, oh, it is okay to be sorrowful, don't feel bad, you can be miserable, don't feel that you have any pressure to be equanimous. If you are feeling sorrow, let it be there. Which Vedanta also says, okay, sorrow came. But that is not to justify sorrow and be in that sorrowful state forever. You definitely, even psychology says, if you can feel it, you can heal it. So if you are feeling sad, you feel it. But then don't remain there. Take steps to bounce back. So that is one extreme. Or the other extreme is where one says this sorrow should never come in my life. And I won't even face sorrow. I won't even try to feel sorrow. I will always keep myself only pepped up all the time and escape from sorrow and not acknowledge it. So being in a denial mode. Now denial mode is also not good, and completely wallowing in self-pity and misery and victimizing oneself, that is also not good. With dhairya and patience, one deals with it. It will come, it will go. Have titiksha, forbearance. What we have learnt earlier in the sadhan chatushtaya, the shatka sampati, titiksha will come. Bear the pinpricks of life without getting diverted from one's goal. What is the lesson that I can learn out of this difficult situation? How can I evolve and improve myself? Focus can be on learning rather than reacting. It can show us something that I need to improve. It can show me externally something that I can change, internally something that I can strengthen myself with. So I can learn out of it rather than getting crushed by it. And fourth is develop vairagya. Dukkha can be used to develop vairagya. Rather than becoming disturbed, detachment and dispassion can be created. Because all said and done, dukkha is the nature of this samsara. Now what can I do? Dukkha will come. So one has to deal with that aspect very clearly. So more of this, I will take it up tomorrow. What is the question here? We know that practically we are not able to do it in spite of trying hard. How to do it? I told you already how to do it. One has to apply. One has to read the lives of saints, apply whatever one can. And don't try to change anybody outside. Our problem is we want to change everything outside. And we can't accept our situation right now. Acceptance is the first key. This has come now. I have to accept whether I like it or not. That acceptance may be difficult because of our insistence. If I have been put in a particular circumstance, it is Bhagwan's will, my past karma. Deal with it. No point in victimizing, complaining. It is only going to waste time. If people around me can't change, why put effort to change them? We saw, Adi Daivik, Adi Bhautik is not in our control. Adhyatmik is in our control. I can do that much.
Hariom Swamiji, you said that Jivan Mukta is completely equal towards everyone. But even in Bhagavad Gita, in the Devi Sampati part 12, chapter 13 chapter, where Bhagwan is also saying, Yomad Bhakta Same Priya, means he's saying that people are dear to him. I know maybe he's telling us to inspire us to have all those qualities, but he says it several times. So even a Jivan Mukta can feel, that when he's at least interacting, he can feel, some disciple is dearer to him than the others. He's allowed to do that, right?
Yeah, so it is in not in Devi Sampada, it is in the 12th chapter in Bhakti Yoga, where Bhagavan is saying this, Yo me bhakta same priyaha. And also Bhagavan says he says the other in another place that Samoham sarva bhuteshu name dveshyoste na priyaha. I am equal to all beings. Nobody is extremely dear to me and nobody I hate. So now we have to understand the two standpoints. From the standpoint of Brahman, everybody is same. Samoham sarva bhuteshu is from standpoint of Brahman and from standpoint of Ishvara also. Ishvara is equal to all. Everybody will get the karma phala as per their karma. Ishvara doesn't do pakshapat. So though that is the standpoint of Brahman and Ishvara, which is the totality standpoint. Now when Bhagavan says that Yomad Bhakta Same Priyaha, so the Jivan Mukta, so from Bhagavan's standpoint, a Bhakta is not more dear and a Bhakta is not somebody that Bhagavan doesn't love. No, that doesn't work like that from Bhagavan's standpoint. Now if we say from Jivan Mukta standpoint, is he allowed to have somebody who very dear and somebody not very dear? It may apparently happen so as a functional level. There is no doubt in that, because at a functional level there will be somebody who will be more, you are interacting much more with, you are much more familiar with, and somebody who is you are not familiar with. So the expression of love in both cases will change. But internally, from the level of seeing oneness, that's why I said Samadarshi, Samavarti. Samadarshi will be same, that person is also equally divine, this person is also equally divine. Both are the same. And even when they say that, this person is more dear at a psychological level, and this person I don't know much, they very well know this is unreal. Like the actor's example we should remember. The actor will be playing a role and go through all the emotions of that actor, of that role. But actor knows deep down in the mind, this is all unreal, this is not happening at all. So the Jivan Mukta also apparently will be very close to somebody and will not be close to somebody. But both these, the Jivan Mukta knows is false. In our situation, for us, both these are real. So for us, attachment and aversion develops very easily. For Jivan Mukta, attachment aversion will not develop at all. Even if there is a certain closeness somewhere and there is a certain closeness which is absent somewhere. So like in Gurudev's example, one of his very close people was Ram Batra, who helped him a lot to start the Central Chinmay Mission Trust, and who did a lot of seva. So when Ram Batra passed away, Gurudev cried. So people thought that, how can a Jivan Mukta cry? But why not? The Jivan Mukta will go through. There's a relative identity which everybody in the relative realm is perceiving. And that relative identity, to that relative identity, this Ram Batra was close. And so the loss of Ram Batra is causing sorrow. But the Jivan Mukta's internal vision is what? This is unreal. That is one level of vision. Second level of vision is nothing is happening, because Brahman alone is what birth, what death. And at third level, which is absolutely simple, at our relative level, the sorrow comes and it goes. It doesn't shatter them, it doesn't devastate them, they don't become, completely off their goal. None of that happens. When Swami Dayananda left and went the Chinmay Mission, Gurudev had trained him to become successor of Chinmay Mission, and he was handing it over to him. And he wanted to retire to the Himalayas and Uttarkashi and write commentaries. But when Dayanandji left, so many Swamis and Brahmacharis also left with him. Now the entire plan of Gurudev got sabotaged. Now he can't retire now. Again, now he has to run the whole organization. No disturbance inside. In fact, many times, people used to come and tell him that, Swamiji, why this happened, what happened, and sometimes many negative comments also used to come, but he would not get bothered. At one point, though, he said, the more the merrier. It doesn't matter. Full stop. So their response internally is very equanimous. They may go through the feelings. It's not that the Jivan Mukta is allowed or not allowed. The mind will go through. As I said, it's a part of the prarabdha karma of that entity, of that body. It will go through. But their response will be, this is unreal. There's only one Brahman. That's at the deeper level. And the transactional level, one will bounce back to balance very fast. So that's the difference. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namah. Harihi.